City of Stevens Point Board of Park Commissioners meeting, recorded October 6, 2021.
Okay, I believe it's 6:30, so the October 6th Board of Park Commissioners meeting will come to order, please. Would you read the roll call, please?
Freckman.
Here.
Gladowski.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
Kirsch. McDonald.
Here.
O'Connick's excused. Shabilsky.
Here.
Shore is excused. Slawinski.
Here.
Sorensen.
Here.
And then Zarazua.
Here. Great, thank you. By the way, we have Todd Ernster representing the Park Department tonight. He's the superintendent of forestry and some other great things. So thank you for doing that, Todd. Item number 2, approval of September 1, 2021 meeting minutes.
I second.
All right, it's moved and seconded. Any discussion, additions or corrections? Okay. All those in favor of approval, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Okay, those are accepted. Thank you. Item number 4, review of public park and facility naming policy for the city of Stevens Point. There was quite a bit of information in your packet.
We missed number 3, Liz.
We did? Oh, well, let's, I'm just trying to move this along, sorry. Item number 3, roof resurfacing project at KB Willett Arena. Do you want to address that, please, Todd?
Sure. We put that project, it's at the KB Willett Ice Arena. The roof is leaking. They put it out for quotes, or for bids. I believe it was at $75,000, and it came in quite a bit over. So we were planning on just patching it. Scott was gonna get some quotes as a stopgap and resubmit for bids next year. So the recommendation is just to put it off till next year and to get new bids.
Okay. Scott, do you have anything that you want to add to that?
Just right now, we've got commercial roofing lined up with an agreement to not exceed $3,000 to do as needed repairs to stop leaks and just get us through the year.
That was my question, what it would cost to do the patch up, so.
All right, thank you, Scott.
Yeah, that's just, I can't guarantee that it's gonna only be 3,000, but that's the starting agreement that we have currently. We'll know more when we get an actual investigation.
Okay, great. Anybody have any other questions for either Todd or Scott?
I hope it doesn't come down to having to use buckets.
Well, that's kind of where they were right now with it, so they have to, that's why we want to get it stopped.
Yeah, because that actually happened to my lab at the university one time. Delayed it, and eventually we wound up with buckets.
Yeah, so this patchwork that we'll do that should get rid of that, because right now there is, I guess from what I understand, there is a bucket underneath the one spot. But I think, does it say in there how old? I think the roof was due for it, because I think it usually lasts about 10 years, and we're to that point. So they'll resubmit it for bids next year then.
And the only bid that came in was significantly over budget, so perhaps it'll be more reasonably priced for next year.
Yep.
Okay, can we have a motion on that? To reject the bid, pretty much as the recommendation reads.
Okay, I move to reject.
Okay.
And second?
Okay. That was Bob
Yes.
and Mike.
Aye.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, it passes. Thank you very much. Thanks for getting me back on track, too.
Right.
Item number 4, review of public park and facility naming policy for the city of Stevens Point. Todd?
Did everybody have a chance to read the packet Dan had put together?
Yeah.
Or should I read over this whole thing, or? I don't think there's any need for that, so I believe his recommendation was in there to hear him out, and he just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of the policy that the park commission does have in place. And I believe that they were going to come and speak to us, weren't they?
Yeah, on items number 5 and 6.
Okay.
Number 4 was really just for us to review the current policy. And those of us that have been on the board for a while probably recall that we thought it probably needed to be reviewed probably in 2015, I believe it was, because there were some kind of random things showing up in the parks. And so this kind of codified it to come up with a more regular approach.
Yeah,
for
because we get
everything, so.
requests all the time. I think Ann can even confirm that. We get people calling all the time asking to name this or put a plaque there, and to have a policy in place is a good thing, because otherwise you'd have, everything would be haphazard. So, like he states in here, the staff recommendation is approve their proposal, provided that it agrees with the public parks and facility naming policy. Is there any questions with it all? I mean, I think it's pretty much cut and dry.
There is some redundancy in the policy, but I think it really helps to explain it in more detail that way. So, okay, I don't think, there's no action required, this was just a review. So we can, if we don't have any other discussion or questions about it, we can move on. Item number 5, authorization to offer major donors naming rights within the Plover River Crossing capital campaign. It's requested by the Friends of the Plover River Crossing. Is anybody here from that group? Wonderful. Do you want to come up to the mic and give us your name and address, please?
Yep. My name is Meg Erler. My address is 503 Fieldcrest Avenue, Stevens Point, 54481. I'm here this evening really just to answer any questions that you might have. We clearly right now are in a silent phase of our fundraising effort. We recognize the need for us to raise significant funding to actually help support the two grants that we're going to be applying for with the DOT and the DNR. We've been in constant communication with the DOT and the DNR throughout this whole project. The estimated completion with respect to this project would be, we would be applying for our grants 2022. Best scenario is that we would receive funding both through the DOT and the DNR, and we would be looking at a construction build either 2024 would be incredible, or more likely 2025. We are seeing significant support from the community, both in terms of people excited about the project, but also responsiveness with respect to the private fundraising we're doing, and we're hoping that we'll be able to get those dollars secured as we move into this, the grant, submitting the grants and making sure the state is aware that we're going to have the match that we're going to need from our private group. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer what I can or follow up with Steve Menzel. He would be here this evening, except we have an open house tonight at Bannock School. We had one last night at Washington School. We're just providing information to those local neighborhoods that are going to be most directly impacted by this incredible opportunity to bring that Bannock School whole area, give them the ability to access our green circle without having to risk going across 10 East. It's a very dangerous situation especially for our families and kids. So I will also speak as a member of the school board. I can let you know that our board unanimously endorsed this. We see this as an incredible opportunity for our in particular our Washington School students and families, and our Bannock School students and families. Just so much potential for our kids. So,
Meg, is there a dollar figure attached to the potential grants that you're applying for?
Well, so right now our estimate is we're going to have to raise $500,000. And so that's why we're taking a look at these major items, which would be that $25,000 to $150,000 range. So for naming rights for some of the main parts, which would be the trail, the bridge, the park, boardwalk, and prairie, we'd be looking for a significant donation.
Were you able to look over the packet then, Meg, too, to see that everything, so you don't get to it and all at once something doesn't match with, within the gift?
Right,
So you were able to, okay.
yep.
So, Meg, I'm kind of curious in terms of the major gifts and then the benefactor. So are those hard caps, or is there a potential that you might get multiple gifts for, let's say, trail naming, for example? And if so, have you talked about how you might handle that?
So we're in, I guess I'll say we're in early stages right now. I mean, we are out meeting both with, some of the companies within our community as well as individuals. There is that potential. We also clearly would be open if we had someone step forward with respect to a matching situation, which is often helpful in fundraising campaigns.
Great. And where are the plaques going to be, just out of curiosity?
Well, they'd probably be attached right to, the park. We'd probably have a sign, right in the park in some location. The bridge, it would be, right on the bridge. Trail would probably be a sign along. Yep. And then there will be some, the potential for some other minor plaque plates that we've talked about with the bridge. There could be the potential that, with the different treads along the bridge, we could be looking to put some names on each of them. So we do have some opportunities. We likely, there may also be some opportunities for benches and maybe some amenities. We already have, the Audubon Society has already stepped up and has been really active down there, putting birdhouses down there for us. So we're seeing some local environmental conservancy groups see the opportunity that there might be in that area.
Thank you.
Aldershore just came in.
It sounds like, pardon me?
I'm sorry, Aldershore just popped in.
Oh, okay.
Let the record show.
We see that you're here, yes. Thank you, David. I did have another question. It sounds like you're not real firm on what the signage is going to look like yet.
That's correct.
And I know, like, if you look at Cash Playground, they had all the donors listed on the entry to the playground. And that has been the approach on a number of different parks and things.
I'm sure our group would be willing to work with the city to ensure that what you would like to see is how we'll work it out. Clearly we just had the unveiling of our first
Right.
introductory sign that at least will be there during the process of this, but there's no doubt the group would be willing to work with you if the city felt that you wanted us to move in a direction for that.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to move to approve this, as long as, they follow, our park and facility naming policy.
That's what Dan has written in here. Staff recommendation is to approve the proposal provided as it agrees with the public parks and facility naming policy.
Great.
I would second that, this
Okay.
proposal.
Is there any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, sorry, guys. There's a delay there, sorry about that. Those opposed? All right, it carries, thank you. And thank you for coming in.
Thank you very
Meg.
much. Thank
Thanks
you.
for your work on the project.
Yeah,
You're, well, it's a labor of love for everybody that's been involved.
Yeah.
It's just a really exciting project for this community.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6, authorization to offer major donors naming rights within the Emerson Park Capital Campaign, requested by the Friends of Emerson Park. Is there anyone here for that? Oh, right, great.
Hi, I'm Ginger Keemer, 1816 Lincoln Avenue, Stevens Point, on behalf of Friends of Emerson Park. And I was just here a couple months ago to give you kind of an overview of where we at, so mostly I'm just here for questions as well. We did just recently get some news that Dan shared, hopefully not while he was in Hawaii, but possibly. We had some cost updates from Rutler Corporation, which has provided all the design services for us in kind. And we were concerned that the costs of construction, like everywhere, going up, and that, you know, they would likely go up for this project as well. And as of now, really, I think the total change in budget was like $13,000 out of so it went from 743,000 estimate to 757. So we were very much relieved that that's still kind of somewhat stable. Most of that change was due to changes in concrete costs. So with that in mind, we still kind of have a fundraising goal that's larger than that, with the idea that any overage that we raise, you know, over the course of the next year or two, could be put towards an endowment to help maintain the park and in the future. So yeah, we also, like Plover River Crossing, are still in the quiet phase or the organizational readiness phase. So we are just starting to begin to approach large donors. Most of the work that myself and Danielle Weaver have been doing has been grant writing up until now. So, and the large donors that we have at this point have chosen to be anonymous, so no one has really been looking for naming opportunities, but we've been made aware that that will be, you know, more of a selling point for some of the big 5-6 figure gifts. So with that, I don't know if you have any other questions for me, or.
Did you have a chance to look at the packet too then?
Yes, I did. Yeah, we looked through the naming policy before, because what we were going to do in preparing our campaign materials was just sort of write in a waiver saying, you know, all naming is at the discretion of the Parks Commission Board, subsequent approval by council. And then Dan suggested that we kind of go this route instead and get pre-approval so that we don't need to have that waiver. Again, if we did have large donations, I think just as a courtesy, of course, we would run that through Dan and the board as well.
Can you address your signage plans as well?
Yeah, I was a little concerned too, because ours kind of goes down into very small, you know, like naming rights for $1,000, $3,000, $5,000 gifts. And I think Dan had said, well, you know, we don't want to have a plaque on every bench and picnic table. I mean, it's just not cost effective and just not a good way to communicate. So there would be a centralized plaque that would recognize those donors. And I think in particular, the board has been really impressed with the donor recognition and signage at Schmeekley. Like, I think those have been really beautifully done. So I think we would love to have something like that, either near one of the gateways or the entrance points to the park, sort of recognizing all of the donors and their naming points in the park. Again, if there was, I think like one of the biggest was like the pavilion. So if the pavilion is named after a donor, then there could be a plaque actually on the pavilion, but we wouldn't be putting it on, you know, every flower and shrub and tree.
You've had 4 requests for memorial trees for the park already
Yes.
too that I have on file that
Yeah.
I'm just kind of holding.
Yeah, so I think there's only space for like 2 or 3.
But there might be more, but we don't want to oversell them.
Yeah, right, exactly,
We're just
yeah.
gonna keep it to maybe 2 more, and then if that comes, and then we'll get the park designed and then maybe open it up again. But
Yeah.
you hate to tell somebody it's gonna happen and then not have the space for it or force something in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is there any other questions or?
Here, the recommendation again was the same. The staff recommendation is to approve their proposal, provided it agrees with the public parks and facility naming policy.
Mike, all
I'd make a motion to approve it
right.
with that stipulation that they, you know, follow the naming rights.
Okay, great. Alder? All right, we've got a motion and a second.
Chair
Any
McDonald,
further
I just-
discussion?
I have a question, Liz, for you in terms of voting. I'm actually on their steering committee, so would it be from a conflict of interest standpoint for me to abstain from any vote on
It
this?
probably is a good idea to
Okay,
abstain.
thank you.
I would say. Okay, we should record one abstain, but all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
I didn't hear
Alder
Jeremy.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I,
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
you
you.
there?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
I try to get in as fast as I can.
Well, that's probably what threw us this time, because it came in so fast, we didn't know, so, okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm trying to beat the delay here.
Okay, great. All right, so that passes as well with one abstinence. All right, great. Thank you very much for your work on that park. Item number 7, Director's Report.
I guess what we're gonna do is, I'll let Scott go first. He was gonna go over the parks end and talk about the Iverson Park restroom and what he knows about the Eagle Scout gazebo at Veterans Memorial Park too. Oh, Scott, I think your volume's off, Scott.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm sorry for the delay. Yeah, a couple things, a couple projects that bring you up to speed on. We are working with Bill Kubisak and the Eagle Scout project at the Veterans Memorial Park. The gazebo there has the final elevation or floor installed, and so our staff is in the process of forming up forms for getting sidewalks met and poured up to that. And so we're hopefully going to be doing that later this week or next week, getting things poured as soon as possible to take advantage of the good weather. The Iverson restroom project is going very nicely. Most of the walls are up now, and there's some rough grading that's been completed too. So there hasn't been too many hiccups on that. We're looking to see how that goes on as it develops. The ball diamond renovation projects, which maybe some of you have noticed, we've had Eric Schlender of Baraboo come in, and his crew put in some ball diamond mix on Gerke South and Gerke North, and also Buchholz Park. And there were 4 loads of Sure Hop mix on Gerke North and 3 loads on Gerke South and 3 loads over at Buchholz. Gerke North and South have been completed. They spread out that mix, graded it, and they did some sod cutting to spruce things up. Over at Buchholz, we've got sod cutting that's complete. The mix has been spread. They still have to return and take care of the batter's boxes and pitching mounds. So that'll be done yet this fall too. So nice improvement there. We've been working, or actually the Prime Water Anglers is working with us to form up some concrete pads over at Buchholz Ball Diamond, or at the Buchholz Boat Landing. They have formed the concrete pads yesterday that will be cured and then installed for ease of dock installation. Some of you probably know that there are 2 docks that we put out in the spring and then remove in the fall for the winter due to the washouts from power loading and boat traffic. It's always been a difficult situation for us for installation and removal. So these pads are going to be actually lifted in place with a crane so that we've got a flat, level, solid surface to wheel in our docks. So we're looking forward to that as well. As far as this time of the year, this is the last weekend where most of our lodges are rented, and the all-purpose lodge will be rented further, but we're in the process of blowing out all the irrigation and soon to be blowing out the lodges as well, getting ready for winter. So that's where we're at on the parks end.
Any questions for Scott? That's a lot.
I guess I've got one, Todd. Scott, with the gazebo that's going in, what is what's the maintenance plan once that thing's up and people are using it? Does that then become part of the park's maintenance process, whether it's painting or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, I haven't been brought up to speed on that agreement that I'm assuming that Dan and Bill have made, but my assumption is that it will be part of the park property eventually. I'm not sure when or when we're going to take it over, but that's how usually things work in the parks.
All right, thank you.
Scott, when are the restrooms going to be closing in the parks?
We typically like to keep those open as weather dictates. As soon as, and this has been an exceptional warm fall, so it doesn't look like anything is going to be threatening for freeze-ups. But when the threat of pipes being frozen, toilets not working because of the cold temperatures, then we have to really ramp things up to get things blown out. There's really not a set date. It's more weather dictated than anything.
Thank you.
Yeah, because typically, I think we try to keep the west side restrooms open at Gerke. I think the boat launch at Buchwald as long as possible, and I think Cash Playground. I think we try to keep those. Correct, Scott?
Yeah, that's correct. Cash has a heater that buys us some time, which helps. The Buchwald boat landing is used heavier. And then the Gerke west side is used heavier with the football games too. And we install milk house heaters and things in the west side Gerke restrooms to extend our season there.
And then we have, what, 2 playoff games now that we know about, 2 at the football stadium?
We will know on October 14th for sure. There is great potential for both Pacelli and Spash having playoff games, but we'll know on the 14th.
Okay. So things are busy there, so, okay, thank you. From the forestry end, we've applied for a Wisconsin DNR urban forestry grant to look over our, to inventory the vacant tree planting spots that we have throughout the city. The last 2 winters or so, we cataloged where the existing trees are in the right of way, but we haven't done the vacant tree planting spots. And the last time a full inventory was done, I think was 1995, so the city has grown a little bit since then. And there's been some new vacant spots and stuff. We've updated the new trees that we've planted since then, but we haven't updated those vacant spots. So the gist of the grant is to go through the whole city like that, and it's a match grant. It's we pay half, they pay half, and I'm hoping to do it between myself and a university student, and we would know about that come December. The other part of the grant would be goal of ours was to update and review our city forestry ordinance. That hasn't been done since Mickey Simmons left. I think that was 1999. And it's a very good ordinance, so there's not much to really tweak with it, but it doesn't hurt to look at something every 20 years, I guess. And then then there would be a tree walk that we would kind of use as a trial run, which maybe we could put on a broader scale for the community in Iverson Park. And then there's some tree planting that's involved with that grant. So I'm hoping to hear on that, and I feel pretty positive with it. And all that is kind of part of a bigger goal or a vision, is I was hoping to update our ordinance, to redo the whole forestry inventory, to have everything in place, and then redo our management plan, because the last time that was done was in 2015. If we have all the vacant spots and everything included, it could be a very worthwhile management plan, and we can see how we followed up with the last management plan that we had done back then. So I'm excited about that. And then from there, we would review our Emerald Ash Borer plan, which we're kind of winding down on our removals and replanting, so that's going in a very good way. I'll have an update on that in a future date. And then after that, I would like to inventory all our park trees. This is all in the future, and then do a separate management plan for all that. So that's kind of my goals with that within our department. We got done marking oak wilt, trees that were killed by oak wilt throughout the city. For whatever reason, it was a banner year for oak wilt. I don't know why that is. There were some pretty large pockets, like out at the Yulga property, out in Whitetail subdivision, and in Iverson Park. So we're trying to get those in line. Next year, I think we have to be prepared. There's a lot of declining ash from the Emerald Ash Borer. that we noticed, so I think there's gonna be a lot of trees that'll be coming down from that. That'll make a big impact, but the good thing is all the trees that we've injected up and down Main and Clark and throughout the city, there isn't any dieback in that, so that's proven very positive. Actually, I had Tom Schrader gave me a call this week and said he was so glad that we moved forward with protecting those, because he was going down Main Street at the time, and, you know, the ashes were bright yellow at the time, and it looked really, it was beautiful, and, you know, if we wouldn't have done that, those trees would not be there. So I think that was a worthwhile investment. The other thing I'm working on is our fall tree planting and our spring tree planting. We're gonna concentrate on replanting a lot of the reconstruction on the north side of town. I'm hoping to add a bunch of evergreens into Buchholz Park, because we've lost a number of pine and stuff through there. I don't know if I'll replace some of the areas with pine, but we're looking at like Doug fir and some spruce. Then it's with requests, which is about a quarter of them. There's a big request for St. Paul Street, I think the 300 block, those are newer houses, so we're gonna be filling that in. I met with Alder Shore, he had a couple spots within his district that we were hoping to touch on, and I think we got those going. And then also I met with Bob over on his property, and we got some great ideas on some new trees that we're gonna try in town, such as cucumber tree, shingle oak, and black gum. So, that's what I have to say, have to report. I think we're gonna be replanting like 32 different tree species this fall, which is pretty good. That's great. Pretty good, yeah.
What's the prospect for survival for those ash trees that have been treated? I mean, long-term?
As long as they're treated from the way I understand it, because right now we're hitting the peak, the bell curve, and we want to do it every 2 years. That's what that product is, that's the directions to follow for every 2 years. But once that bell starts going down, it's not registered for 3 years, but I know people that after it passes, we can go every 3 years. And then we'll just keep monitoring the ash trees. If they start declining due to construction or a drought or, you know, whatever the case may be, then we'll eliminate those and just kind of replant it with something else. But I think right now, especially like in the downtown area, a lot of those trees aren't just, they're just more or less surviving to get a tree established in that area. It's very expensive and labor intensive, so I think it's a good thing just to keep doing what we're doing. So yeah, it should, there's communities that have been doing this a lot longer than us, and they still have their ash.
Is it easy for private homeowners to arrange for the injections?
We try to put as much information on our website and through press releases. Now, there's 2 or 3 companies in town that do it, but I got a feeling until we start a lot of those big orange dots showing up on the trees, you know, it's gonna be too late. Because if they're not injecting them now, by this time, I think it's almost too late right now, almost, Bob.
Yeah, well, I noticed there are a lot of early signs on a lot of trees.
Well, there's some big ones too,
Yeah.
some really big ones up and down Main and Clark Street. So that'll have a big impact to the community, so. Any other questions? All right,
Any other question?
that's our report.
Thank you very much, Todd. All right, item number 8, adjournment. Motion to adjourn, please. You all want to stay? Okay, Mike made the motion, second. All right, Alder Zarazua. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Opposed, none. Okay, great, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.